Throughout history, inventors have dared to push the limits of human ingenuity, but sometimes the very creations meant to change the world ended up taking their own makers' lives. Today, we're looking at 12 inventions that killed their own creators. Number 12. Franz Reichelt, an Austrian-born French tailor, was obsessed with creating a parachute suit that could help aviators survive falls. Despite numerous failed tests with dummies, he insisted that his design would work. In 1912, Reichelt climbed the Eiffel Tower in front of a crowd of spectators and journalists. With his parachute suit strapped to his back, he took the leap, only for the fabric to collapse immediately. He plummeted 57 meters, or 187 feet, to his death, proving his invention was far from functional. Number 11. Thomas Midgley Jr. was a brilliant chemist responsible for two major innovations: leaded gasoline and Freon, the first widely used refrigerant. Unfortunately, both would later be linked to massive environmental damage. Later in life, Midgley contracted polio, leaving him bedridden. Always the inventor, he designed a system of pulleys and ropes to help move himself in and out of bed. But in 1944, his own contraption malfunctioned, and he became entangled in the ropes, ultimately strangling himself. Number 10. Henry Smolinski had a dream, a car that could fly. He founded Advanced Vehicle Engineers, or AVE, and designed the Mizar, a Ford Pinto with airplane wings and a rear propeller. In 1973, during a test flight, the right wing detached mid-air due to a structural failure. Smolinski and his co-pilot crashed and died instantly. His dream of a flying car quite literally crashed and burned. Number 9. Karol Suchek was a professional stuntman who believed he had designed the ultimate shock-absorbing barrel. In 1984, he successfully survived a plunge over Niagara Falls in his custom barrel. Emboldened by this, he planned a similar stunt at the Houston Astrodome, where he would be dropped 180 feet into a tank of water. However, the release mechanism failed and the barrel missed its target, crashing into the side of the tank. Suchek suffered fatal injuries and died shortly after. Number 8. William Bullock revolutionized the newspaper industry in 1863 with the invention of the web rotary press, capable of printing thousands of pages per hour. But this game-changing machine would be his undoing. While attempting to adjust a malfunctioning press, Bullock's foot was caught in the machinery. The injury turned gangrenous, and during a failed amputation attempt, he died. The very machine that made him famous also ended his life. Number 7. Otto Lilienthal, known as the Glider King, was one of the earliest pioneers of flight. He conducted over 2,000 successful glider flights, inspiring the Wright brothers. But in 1896, while testing a new glider design, he lost control mid-air and fell 17 meters, or 56 feet to the ground, breaking his spine. His last words? Sacrifices must be made. He became one of aviation's first fatalities. Number 6. Max Villiers was a visionary in rocket propulsion, aiming to build rocket-powered vehicles. In 1930, while testing a prototype using liquid fuel propulsion, a component exploded during a static test. Shrapnel from the blast fatally injured him, making him one of the first casualties of rocketry. His work, however, paved the way for modern space travel. Number 5. Horace Hunley was the mastermind behind the H.L. Hunley, the first combat submarine. But in 1863, during a test dive in Charleston Harbor, disaster struck. The sub failed to resurface, and Hunley, along with his crew of 7, drowned inside. Ironically, after being raised and tested again, the Hunley would later become the first submarine to sink an enemy warship, before sinking once more with another crew. Number 4. Marie Curie's groundbreaking work on radioactivity earned her 2 Nobel Prizes, but back in the early 1900s, the dangers of radiation were unknown. She frequently carried radium in her pockets and worked with highly radioactive materials without protection. Over the years, exposure to radiation caused severe health problems, and in 1934 she died of aplastic anemia, a disease linked to prolonged radiation exposure. Number 3, Soviet physician and scientist Alexander Bogdanov believed in the rejuvenating power of blood transfusions. He even experimented on himself, receiving transfusions from various donors. But in 1928 he transfused himself with blood that was either infected or incompatible with his blood type. He soon fell ill and died. His quest for eternal youth, ironically, led to an early death. Number 2. In 1783, Jean-François Pilat de Rosier became one of the first humans to fly in a hot air balloon. But his greatest ambition was to cross the English Channel using a hybrid balloon, a combination of a hydrogen balloon and a hot air balloon. Unfortunately, hydrogen is highly flammable. Mid-flight, the balloon caught fire and exploded, sending Rosier plummeting to his death. He became aviation's first recorded fatality. Number 1. Aurel Vlaicu was a Romanian aviation pioneer who designed and built some of the earliest airplanes. In 1913, he attempted to fly his Vlaicu 2 aircraft over the Carpathian Mountains. Tragically, the aircraft malfunctioned mid-air and Vlaicu crashed to his death. His designs were ahead of their time, but the technology of the era couldn't keep up with his vision. These inventors dared to change the world, but their creations turned against them. Which of these stories shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories.